Hey everybody, this is Josh McKinney, and I just want to welcome you to episode 195 of the I Suck at Jiu Jitsu Show. So today I have a really fun one, a really special one. I don't think I've ever interviewed an adult competitor this closely after we've competed against each other. And Austin and I competed against each other a few weeks ago. We kind of get into that a little bit in the episode. But what was really cool is after we got done competing, and this happens at the other belts. I don't feel like this happens at adult black belt very often. Austin came up after the handshakes, after everything, and just said hi and kind of more introduced himself. I had met him before, but it just was really uniquely kind for a lot of the times the people that I meet at adult black belt. And that's not to say that they're mean at all. It's just a lot of people are pretty competitive with stuff. And so, when it comes to that, it's just not something I've had happen a lot is somebody reach out in the way that Austin did. And then just being cool enough to be on the podcast and to just share so much information. Austin is not only a black belt competitor, he's also an IBJJF referee. And so I get to ask him some questions that show how little I understand the rules, and he really does make stuff make so much more sense to me. And then on top of that, just really great ideas on training, and he's just got a really unique story. He started kind of like me. He started jiu-jitsu young, started a school young, trains with his family, and that's what the lifestyle that they live now, traveling and competing and training. And so it's a really fun conversation for me to get to have with him because we have so much in common. But I won't ramble on. Let's get into today's episode. All right. I am sitting down with Austin. It is Oranday. Is that right?
Oranday, yeah.
Oranday. All right. All right. Man, I've been butchering your name for a long time. I had no idea, man.
Yeah, you said it better than most people. Most people say Oranday, Oranday, you name it. You get all. I've heard some crazy things.
You know what's amazing is no one has ever had any trouble pronouncing McKinney, but when I go to an IBJJF, they don't pronounce McKinney very well. I'm Joshua McKinney.
The Portuguese accent.
Yeah. So I just kind of wanted to start. I thought we could start with kind of a fun story that I heard. And I thought we could just kind of talk on this because I think it shows a lot of the things that I want to get into on today's episode. Just kind of like your start into jiu-jitsu. So you did start jiu-jitsu at a very young age, but there came a point for you where you did your first advanced class and you finally got called up to the advanced class and you were rolling with your mom who also trains in the advanced class. And can you just tell that story from your perspective?
So this story is I was a super motivated kid when I was young in jiu-jitsu. I loved jiu-jitsu. I trained all day, every day. And they didn't let like 13 and 14-year-old kids into the advanced class at the time because, they wanted to be an adult atmosphere. My brother got in really young. He was super motivated. He also grew really fast and kind of just stopped growing. So he was big for his age at the time. And I was really small, but I trained every day and I wanted to be in that class. Well, one day the class is odd. They have lots of women in there, my mom being one of them. And they invite me on to make it even, right? To make sure no one sits out, no one wastes around. The first round, they put me with my mom, right? And we're having a hard match. At this time, I'm getting close to about my mom's size. And she used to hold me down and poke me in the forehead, right? She would beat me up so bad in jiu-jitsu. Just hold me down, poke me in the forehead, beat me up, just mess with me. And I was trying my hardest. I'm like, I'm not going to get pinned. I'm going to win this. I'm going to do good. And it's kind of funny looking back at how competitive I was with my own mom.
Of course.
We're going at it. And she went to like a Delahiva. And instead of like turning my back or getting my back taken, I tried backstepping. But my elbow and my forearm landed right across her nose. I broke her nose. Her nose was bleeding. It was swell up for like 2 weeks. And my mom's tough as nails. She didn't go to the hospital or nothing. She just, she just stuffed paper towels in it. It was bleeding for like 2 hours. the worst broken nose I think I've ever seen in
Oh,
jiu-jitsu, not MMA, but in jiu-jitsu. It's the worst I've ever seen. And I didn't get let back in the advanced class for at least another 6 months to a year after that one.
oh
So
my gosh.
yeah,
Did she ground you?
no grounding, no, it's just accidents happen. She was trying to encourage them to let me back in the advanced class. I think because she wanted to beat me up, but I can't confirm or deny that.
Did
But yeah, no, she took it like a champ.
so she never gave you like a receipt for it? She never like gave you a beat down, like next time she got the chance, nothing?
No, just the hazing. My family, we all haze each other, and so it still comes up. Like, we'll be sitting down for dinner, and I'll be hazing my brother or my sister, and they'll be like, "Oh, you remember that time you broke mom's nose?" I'm like,
Oh,
"Yeah, yeah." It comes up a lot, but it's funny. We all laugh about it looking back now. At the
of
time,
course.
it was a little rough, but it was took it like a champ.
Man, that is yeah, your mom's a saint, man. I would have beat you for that if I was her. I would have been like, you know what? I only have a few months left until this kid's bigger than me. I got to put it on him now. He needs to
Right?
know.
No, she was nice to me. I only got beat if I misbehaved, not if I was bad
Good.
at training.
Good. So that kind of brings up you are a part of a jujitsu family at this
Yeah.
point, and there aren't a ton of jujitsu families that are American, and
Mhm.
what is that kind of from your perspective? How did that kind of start? I know you and your brother started first, correct?
Yeah, me and my brother and my sister. My sister was only like 4 at the time, but she started at the same time as us.
And so you guys all started. When did your mom start training?
So my mom started about 2 years after we did. We really got serious in the competition after about a year. Me and my brother did. We were competing so much. The team we were with at the time wasn't very competitive. They would go to a couple local tournaments a year, but we were literally traveling all over Texas. Like they did about a tournament every other month in Texas: Houston, Dallas, Austin, San Antonio. And at the time we lived in Houston, so we did every tournament every other month. We were going, and it was just me and my brother coaching each other, right? So like most of the time, our coaches weren't there. And it happened at a tournament. My brother got mounted and he reversed the kid, and my mom's yelling for a sweep, and she has no idea what's going on. She's that parent on the sideline, and a
Uh-huh.
referee he was like, "Hey, that's not this." And my brother comes off the mat like in the middle of the match, is like yelling at her, zip her lips, and just like, "I got this. Like, calm down. Don't worry about it." I'm just 12, 13 at the time, trying to coach my brother to do the best he can. And after that, she was really, she wanted to get back in shape, and she wanted to know more about the sport we were doing. She didn't want to be that parent on the sideline that didn't know what they were doing, that was yelling for no reason. And she's like, I have to learn this. I can't keep sitting on the side every day. And she started with us, and she's been going for, man, is it 12? Almost this year would make 12 years for her. And this year makes 14 for me and my brother. So,
Oh
and my
my
sister.
gosh. Man, that
It's
is a
awesome.
good
And
that is a good amount of jujitsu.
like you said, my whole family trains now. So now it's not just me, my brother, and my sister, and my mom. It's also my stepdad's a black belt. Obviously, my mom's a black belt. My brother's a black belt. My sister's a purple belt. My I have a niece, a little 7-year-old niece. She just turned 7. She's a gray and black belt. My sister-in-law is a purple belt. We have another niece, and 2 years she'll be training jujitsu. She's 1 now, so it's awesome.
That really is cool. Do you guys ever have any jujitsu arguments?
Oh, constantly. Rules, who's gonna win? Is it gonna be, Felipe Pena or Gordon Ryan, or, who's the best no-gi grappler? It comes up every dinner, every family occasion. We're talking about some kind of jujitsu for the most part, whether it be the politics in jujitsu or the rules or what new tournaments coming up, where we're gonna travel to next. It's always jujitsu. It's amazing.
Give me the most common, and it can be as humorous as it needs to be, but the most common family disagreement involving jujitsu.
The
Where does
rules.
the rules
Oh, the
really?
rules constantly. Oh, that should have been a DQ. That should have been an advantage. This, that, or whatever. Especially between me and my brother. We're both IBJJF
Mm.
referees. We both referee a lot. There's obviously a lot of in any sport, just like judo, wrestling. There's a lot of interpretation to be had. Guys are coming up with new situations and positions, and you see things happen in matches that you've never seen in jiu-jitsu before. So, debates between me and my brother are biggest there. And then I think, just like the rest of my family, it'd be a debate on a position, right? We're all different sizes, heights, weights, right? I may do double underpass one way and they do it another, and we'll debate out the position, but we always come to the conclusion that, different chokes, different folks, right? Different ways to do techniques. So, we always come to that, either that conclusion, or if it's a referee question, where it's kind of one of those things, we'll take it to Rico Bastos, or Mr. Cruz, or one of those higher up referees, and sometimes it's just left up to opinion. That happens in the sport too right now. So not everything's black and white yet, but it's getting there. It's working on it one year at a time. IBJJF's growing. They're finiting the rules every year. So it's cool.
So have you ever gotten, you were talking about how your mom was yelling for the sweep on the bridge and roll. Have you ever gotten any payback from that situation now that you are on the other side of the mat, now that you're a referee? Has there ever been a time that a parent or a coach has just been over the top? And
man, one of the biggest situations I ever had, I was a brown belt, because IBJJF lets you referee at brown belt, right? So when you can start learning all that kind of stuff. I was refereeing Master 1 black belts. The situation happened. There was only 5 seconds left in the match. The guy on top kind of gave his back, and so like almost a kiss of the dragon situation. 2 knees, kick the guy's knees out. Well, instead of the guy falling back and giving his back, he went turtle. The guy came on top in a sweep to guard. Back in the day, if you sweep to turtle, it wasn't 2 points. Back in like 2013, 2012, 2013, and like 2014 or 15, and somewhere around there is when the rule changed, where if you sweep to turtle, it's 2 points. Well, it's a master competitor. He hasn't competed in a while. He didn't know this changed, and he threw his black belt at me, said that's not 2 points, said all the worst words to me you can imagine, of course, and said he's not stepping off he's literally laid on the mat and said, I'm not getting off this mat until you call Cruz, which was the referee coordinator at the time, over. Just kicked and screamed and you name it. Told me I didn't deserve my brown belt. I didn't know what I was doing as a competitor, all the worst things to me. And yeah, that was the craziest. I've had some really good moments refereeing, though. I had a parent losing their mind at me. They didn't understand why passing to turtle wasn't a pass, right? Like if you pass, the kid turtles right away. And I've had moments where I can stop and explain to those parents, hey, this is why, this is it, and they start to understand, and they're grateful, because a lot of referees don't take the time to go out of their way and explain the situation to them, or they're not, sometimes they're not capable. Sometimes they don't speak the same language as the person, so it's hard for them to convey what they mean when this happens.
And it's even weird. I notice from my perspective as a coach who's there a lot of times I'm asking a ref for actual feedback, but they are so used to people yelling at them for every decision and actually not caring about the feedback, just wanting to be mad that their guy lost. And so sometimes I notice that they're kind of like, no, I don't feel like having this altercation.
Yeah. So IBJJF actually does not allow the referees to talk to the coaches and explain their situation. They have to tell you, hey, go talk to Cruz. And then once they go talk to Cruz, or Cruz or Rico or, Pedrino, there's a ton of referee coordinators. In Texas, it's Rico Bastos. Rico's, he's the man here in Texas. He coordinates all the Texas events. And like, if you have a problem with a situation, say, your student got a STEMA locked and he's only a blue belt, right? And the referee gave the win thinking it's a shred ankle. You have to take that, and you can't go talk to that referee. You have to go talk to Rico, and then Rico will let you go talk to that referee sometimes. Sometimes he'll fix the situation right away. Some situations he can't fix at all. He'll just say, yeah, this guy made a mistake, and he'll go talk to the referee. So a lot of tournaments won't even let you talk to the referees. The local ones, they'll let you do it. When it comes to a situation like, obviously I've worked with a lot of these coordinators. I've gotten put in situations before. I'm like, hey, Rico, this guy's yelling because of this situation. Can I go explain to him? And then he'll give me permission to go talk to the guys. They're not, cut and dry. You can't talk to anyone ever, but, you have to kind of go through the chain of command. If there's any problem at all with the referees or with guys getting in fights, they have to go talk to that coordinator, for anything to really happen, or, anything to change, or which a lot of matches can't be changed. The only matches that can be changed are, say I, do an illegal technique to you, I heel hook you in the gi and they gave me the win. They can go back and reverse that. But if, it was a 2 points, given on a takedown that was only 2 seconds instead of 3, they can't change that. There's too much other things that go on the match to go back and fix that one thing. So, but they'll let you explain your side of it sometimes, but you kind of have that mitigator there, that, that referee coordinator will let you, sit there and talk with that referee and kind of mitigate the conversation and be the middleman to help explain the situation and, help both parties see both sides, make sure it doesn't get too heated.
That makes a lot of sense. This is a little off topic, but not really, because you did mention an steam lock and a heel hook. This is just my curiosity. The what is that called? The Aoki lock, or like
the lock. Yeah.
So is that like where the heel is on the ribs? Is that legal? Is that a straight ankle lock?
So it's all about what the partner put in the submission does, right? If you take your leg out, if you try to pull your leg out of a straight ankle, Muhammad Ali versus Victor Hugo would be my best example of this situation. Muhammad Ali jerks away as hard as he can and his heel slips out. And then Victor Hugo just keeps pressing with the position. That's not Victor Hugo's fault, you did that to yourself. That's a situation you put on yourself in the gi, right? And it's legal if it's legal at straight, if you can do a straight ankle, you can do an Aoki lock, but it has to be your partner's fault. He has to be trying to pull his leg out. Or maybe he falls, or he tries to roll, say he tries to roll to the outside and his leg starts to come out, that's on him. But if you force the position, man, there was a really good brown belt match. I don't remember the name of 2 competitors, but you could see the guy. He takes the guy bottom of the guy's calf and he pushes the heel out, and he takes his hand and he wraps deep and digs that heel up to make sure the heel is out, and then goes for it. That's his fault, That's why he'll get disqualified. So it's a niche position. It's all about intent, right? If your intent's to straight ankle your opponent and he pulls his leg out, Isaac Doderman, I think, is the best example of doing this repeatedly. He puts guys in situations where they think it's okay to pull their leg out, and it's just not.
That makes a lot of sense. And that's something that I really, I picked up when I listened. I was re-listening in prep for this to an Open Guard Cast episode with you and your brother, and which is back, by the way. Jake is reviving the Open Guard Cast.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So he, but there was just something you said that really stuck out to me. I just did not. I mean, maybe I even knew it, but it just had never really registered to me. You said one of the main jobs the referee has is judging intent. And that was super interesting to me. Can you just explain kind of what you mean by that?
Man, so you see it so often. Sometimes the intention of the fighter, especially really smart fighters, is to game the system, right? They're trying to play around the rules, not trying to do jiu-jitsu. They're trying to win the strategic, this battle of, okay, I swept my opponent. Now I'm going to give him a single leg. And as soon as he grabs it, I'm going to go out of bounds. Right. So that's another position where you can judge intent. Right. If someone's single legging you, and if I have a single leg and I drive you out of bounds, I had the single leg, I'm pushing you out of bounds. You used to see it all the time back in the day. Guys would pick up single legs and they would drive their partner out of bounds. They'd be like, I have a takedown. It's a takedown. It's not my fault. The border runs out. I was taking him down. Or you have guys, defend takedowns like that. They would be in the middle of the mat. They'd get single legged and they would start pushing the chest away, but they would purposely, turn themselves. I was fighting Mihawk. I put him in a triangle. We start from one corner of the mat and he drives me all the way to the other corner. As soon as he sees the yellow, right? I watch, you can go back and watch the video on IBJJF's YouTube. He sees the yellow. Instead of keep driving where he knows he's getting disqualified, he turns sideways, but then he does a forward roll to try to get out of the triangle, to go out of bounds, And that's that referee's job to say, hey, was it an intentional to go out of bounds, right? And for the referee, it was an easy job. He drove me from one corner to the other and then did a forward roll. He knew where he was,
Of course.
You can only drive so far before you're going to go off the mat. But sometimes you see it with toe holds all the time. Guys grab toe holds and they what's it? You're gonna eventually spin out of bounds. That's up. Hey, is this guy purposely going out of bounds in a submission? Just to get out, just to give the 2 points and reset. This probably should be a disqualification. Is the guy avoiding the sweep with, going out of bounds? You see it so often. Guard passing, even guys will, they'll be in their guard pass, a nice leg hug. The guy's super tight. They see the corner of the mat, so the behind them's wide open. They see the corner of the mat. They'll start butt scooting to the yellow, just to get that favorable reset.
Can you give some context to, just while we're on this topic, in the last 5 minutes, I've learned more about the rules than I have probably in the last few years. So just while we're on the topic, could you give a little context as to how the out of bounds works in the IBJJF? Just when things are supposed to get reset, when the points kind of, when they're, oh, you guys landed out of bounds, there aren't points for this. What is kind of the criteria for that?
So first I want to specify, with all this being said, I'm not, I do referee a lot. I'm not the best referee in IBJJF. There is no real best referee in IBJJF, of course, but there is referees that have been doing this years and years longer than me. There's, all the coordinators are amazing referees. All the guys that coordinate and put all the referee teams together, they're all amazing referees. They referee for each other all the time. And they're like a committee that sits down and helps make the rules with the IBJJF. And, they sit and they talk about every little thing into the finest little detail. So some things I might say, they might look back at this podcast and go, oh, Austin, that's wrong. But I'm gonna give it from my best example from my I've only been refereeing since in 2020. So, for a couple of years of experience now, I've, refereed, and I've had lots of situations. And from my experience, and what I'm told, when I talk about out of bounds, right? The yellow is kind of the gray area, right? It's the area where you're waiting for a situation to happen. You can still score on the yellow. Everything can still happen on the yellow, but you're waiting for a situation where you can stop and reset the match on the yellow. Anything that goes past the yellow doesn't exist. It's the ether. If you're looking at the mat area, you have the mat area. The caution area is cautionary. Anything past that point, look at it like the black abyss. If something happens outside that point, the referee doesn't see it. It doesn't matter. Whatever it may be, if you can't if it starts on the yellow, it's a scramble that's happening on the yellow, looking for a place to reset them, waiting for a position where you can feel like you can safely stop the momentum and then pull them to the center, that's your goal. But if the momentum's going and they go into the ether, you can't reset the situation. So you have to bring the situation back to the middle, stand them back up. Or if they were in a submission, maybe they were scrambling like crazy. It was proper defense. It wasn't one athlete trying to push themselves out of bounds. You see that a lot. You'll see guys actually get submissions, right? They'll maybe it's 10 seconds left. They're down 2 points. They'll get a triangle. They'll see that they're right here on the yellow. They'll purposely walk themselves out of bounds with that triangle, trying to get 2 points.
Mm-hmm.
Not 2 points if you're the guy attacking and you purposely pull the fight out of bounds. If the submission's tight, you're allowed to give one advantage. Saying he almost submitted him, that's one advantage. But if I pitch you in a triangle and I pull you out of bounds, that's nothing,
Yeah.
It's
okay.
not going to be 2 points. So once again, you're judging intent. Anything that happens in the abyss doesn't matter. If something happens in the yellow, you can, if someone takes down on the yellow, they hold for 3 seconds, they're in butterfly guard, that you feel like they're established, you can stop that, reset them back in butterfly guard, gives them 2 points. Let's say you take someone down the yellow and you're scrambling on the yellow for 3 seconds, but I take you down, I have control on the yellow, you're still moving, we're still fighting, but I have you on the ground, right? I've established top position for 3 seconds, but we're transitioning through guards. We're scrambling. We go out of bounds. The position can't be reset. We never I got 2 points. I scored my points, but the situation wasn't stable enough to reset it, right? So they start you back on the feet.
So just for last little clarification on it, when you kind of say the abyss, the true out of bounds past the caution area, if I put my hand in that gray, does that mean that we are now officially out of bounds, or is there a certain amount of body that needs to be out of bounds?
Obviously, we try to keep it to if it's a position we can reset. If they're scrambling, maybe we're butterfly guard and you're Your body locking me and my hands out, right? So it's a position we can reset. The hands out, but it's okay. We know that that hand is on the mat. We can reset it. But if it's a true scramble, if you guys are moving through positions, right? There's no stopping you guys. Y'all just go out of bounds, and there's no resetting the guard. There's no reset. You're just, if you were to say we may have ended up in the abyss in the butterfly guard, but we started in the Delhi Hiva and we're just going through position after position. If I started back in the butterfly guard when there was no established butterfly guard, it was just one lazy butterfly hook. Now I'm giving you an established butterfly guard, or I'm giving me an established top butterfly guard. Maybe I'm the best butterfly guard passer there is, and you were just using that hook to make a little distance to go to close guard, but it happens to go out of bounds. Why would we start the fight in an established position that maybe it's my best position or your best position when it wasn't established and it's outside?
Yeah.
For me, I'm looking for one competitor to be out of bounds, right? If they go out of bounds, they're scrambling, and one of the competitors are out of bounds, most of his body or 80% of his body, I'm looking to stop that match because it could impede the mat next to us. It's dangerous for my referee partner on the other end, because he's going to try to put himself in between my competitors and his competitors to keep his competitors safe. It's my job as a referee to do the same. If I see you guys go into the yellow, I'm going to stand in between the yellow and the out of bounds to make sure you guys are, if you run into me, I know, hey, you're about to risk everybody else, so I probably need to stop that match and move to center. Or there's a concrete wall behind me. We saw that in Nashville, the concrete wall was 8 feet away from us. But in Dallas, one year for Nogi Worlds, they had to put mats on the concrete wall just because they were scared of people running into it. It's only a foot or two off the mats. So I'm going to put myself there to make sure no one gets harmed, And that's when you can tell a good referee is always moving and looking for the best angle, but he's also putting himself in front of the competitors to make sure they don't get hurt. Whether that be the table in them or the camera in them, sometimes you see cameras, you see referees stand in front of cameras. I'm sure there's lots of, videographers that hate us for doing that, but we're trying to put ourselves in the way of not the camera. We don't care about the camera. We care about the athletes, And the IBJJF makes a priority to say that every time we referee, right? Something a lot of people don't know is the Friday before every tournament, you have to do what we call RTP, the referee training program. And you go through, not the whole rule book, but pretty close to it. And if there's any rule changes, like I remember for over a year straight, and we still answer these questions. We're 2 years into heel hooks now, but they ask us what division, it's a test we have a huge test that we have to take. We have a certain amount of time to take it. We are on a Zoom meeting like this for like 2 hours. They're explaining situations, going through situations, and we have to look at all the situations, and then we have to score the situations on this test over and over and over again. And one of the things is, okay, let's take heel hooks. Where are heel hooks allowed? Right? And it'll say no gi, brown and black belt. It'll say adult, no gi, brown and black belt. It'll say brown and black belt, all divisions. It will say brown and black belt, open class only, right? And some of them are ridiculous. Like that last one's a ridiculous one. But a lot of people don't know you can't do heel hooks at brown and black belt masters, and no gi only, right? So they'll ask us in the gi, can we do heel hooks? Obviously, and it's multiple choice. There's 4 or 5 choices. You choose them. It shows you a situation where you take me down, but then I butterfly sweep you over my head. I land and mount. How do we score that? You took me down. You held for 1-2 seconds. I butterfly swept you over my head. I landed and mount. It's going to be 1 advantage for you, 2 points for my sweep, and 4 points for the mount, And you have to answer those questions. And then what a lot of people don't realize, too, is when referees are new and they're training, they have earpieces in. Well, they have to pass over an 85 or 80 on the test. If they don't make an 80 on the test, they're not allowed to referee the next day. All they're going to do is check geese all day, right? And the matches they do referee, they have a very experienced referee with a microphone, right, like a little walkie-talkie, and they're fixing any referee that any mistake that trainee makes. They're fixing it. They're saying, hey, that situation was 2 points, and then when the match is over, that referee will bring the new referee over here and say, this is why. They explain everything through it, and they do that for a while. I think I did 4 events as a trainee. It was Nogi Pans in 2020, and Atlanta Open, Houston Open, American Nationals, Gi and Nogi, And then I did the Orlando Open, and then my first event as an official referee was Master Worlds. But every match I refereed before that point, I had a headset on with a referee that's been doing it as long as, I've been alive for the most part. Some of these guys that have been reffing, they've been reffing since, the first World Championships in 1998. I was born in 1998, and they were reffing before I was born, and they're sitting here, giving me advice, teaching me how to referee. So it's really cool.
So before we kind of move on, there are a bunch of other things I want to get to, but I just wanted to open up with, or just give you this question. Has there been anything in refereeing, any type of story that is worth noting? Either something crazy that happened, something really cool that you got to see closer than anybody else, just anything that you have, anything that stands out for you?
Man, the thing that stands out the most to me is the true level of the IBJJF trying to make this sport professional, right? It's a lot of things that people don't understand. Situations that are talked about over and over again, right? Like the referee training program, right? No one knows about the RTP, and it's like that's a huge part of it, right? Referees are paid to attend the RTP, the Zoom meeting, right? Sometimes if you don't attend the Zoom meeting, it's you can be not favored to be hired again, right? They won't put you on the list to hire you again. The referees that compete sometimes, they refund your registration if you attend the RTP, right? So it's a big motivating factor. That's it's a substantial amount of money we get refunded to make sure we know what we're talking about. And then the test gives us feedbacks. If we miss a question and we scored it wrong, it's highlighted in red. Hey, you missed this. This is the proper score for this situation. If you score too low as a referee, they won't let you be on the map. They'll find another job for you. They'll put you on a table or something, or make you check gis or things like that. So it's they're really dedicated to actually improving the sport. A lot of people complain about the rules, but they're constantly evolving and trying to fix the rules. And with that being said, like every 1 to 2 years, they sit down with the top referees and they talk about it and they say, okay, the big change last time in 2021 was heel hooks. Allowing the heel hooks for the no-gi competitors, and the knee locks and the lateral knee bars and the reaping and all that stuff was a big change they all sat down and talked about. And obviously I hear rumors about this thing might be changing, or some referees talk about the higher up referees talk about, hey, I really think this situation needs to change. Maybe we score it this way next time. Because everybody learns jiu-jitsu differently. I've learned jiu-jitsu much different than you have, and we probably came up in the same era of jiu-jitsu, but we all learn it different, right? So like, just everybody's interpretation is different. And when you have different interpretations, IBJJF has their view on it. And it doesn't mean that that's always right, but their view is what they want all the referees to referee by. There's rules I don't agree with, massively. And I can tell you those rules all day. But at the end of the day, my job is to enforce what the IBJJF wants enforced. I've disqualified people for things I think should be legal, but they're dedicated to making the sport as black and white as it can be, trying to remove as much discretion as they can. And they do it in such a professional way. They're not sitting here screaming and yelling. They're sitting down, they're explaining to every new referee. You have referees that train, that will come in for a tournament and they have a referee in their ear for 6, 7, 8 tournaments, where they're learning every situation.
Man. So I kind of wanted to, from here, I thought it might be a good time to talk about, since we're kind of talking about refereeing, talking about black belt stuff, maybe move to competition for you, and just kind of talk about, you started competing very young, correct? Hey guys, really quick, I want to interrupt the episode and tell you about something really exciting we have going on at simplifyingjujitsu.com right now. So right now, any course in the store is 50% off with promo code NEWSTUDIO. It's for the entire month of May. We are running this deal half off of everything. That is half off of the instructional my dad and I just put out, How to Train Jiu-Jitsu. Half off of his latest instructional that he did by himself, Train Until 60 and Beyond. Half off of STD, C's for BJJ. That's Kyle Watson simplifying takedowns for BJJ. Half off of all these only at simplifyingjujitsu.com. You will not regret going there, checking out these instructionals, and learning jiu-jitsu and learning how to understand jiu-jitsu more simply. And that's all I have for you guys. Let's go ahead and jump right back into the episode.
Yes, sir. I was 11.
And so could you know what like the longest you have gone without competing since being 11?
Yes, I do. I got injured really bad when I was 17. I got paralyzed on my left arm. I was at a fight to win tournament. My partner did a kind of like the situation that just blew up and was all over the news. Except instead of me rolling from the top turtle, my opponent on bottom rolled. My head got caught, got scorpioned, and somewhere in my spine, my vertebrae, instead of bulging outwards, bulged inwards. And I had paralysis for 72 hours, right in my left arm, from my
gosh.
from here up in my neck. I couldn't feel anything, all the way down my left arm, all the way to my left hip, and it was very it's just in this corner, right? I could move my right arm, I could feel my muscles on my right side. Moving my neck was a little weird because I don't feel any of the sensation there for 3 days. I had this really bad injury, in the hospital and stuff for 3 days. It all turned out good. It all worked out great. I've completely healed now, but I took a 6-month hiatus from competition.
And so 6 months have you taken anything close to that at any time of a hiatus?
When I first started competing, maybe I had 2 or 3 months in there where it was whether it be because of you name it, with life stuff, anything come up, or maybe the tournament that was happening because tournaments weren't as popular back then. We had one every other month. So maybe I skipped one because my sister used to dance. So we'd have a dance recital or something to go to. But not really after, besides that one big 6-month layoff, I've had 2 or 3. Like I think my last one, I didn't compete. I competed early October, but I took all the rest of October off, November, and I competed the last tournament in December. So it was almost 3 months I took off. But
wow. So
that's about it.
Do you know how many matches you've had?
I have to be coming up to 1,000, I think.
Holy cow.
So I had the system where I can pull out all my gold medals. I count gold medals for 3 matches, silvers for 2, and bronzes for 1. And obviously I haven't medaled at every tournament. But I believe the number last time I counted sometime last year was like 850 or
oh my
almost
gosh.
900. So
do you ever talk to guys and like you're talking to them and they're like, yeah, when we competed, and you look at them and you're like, wait, we competed against each other? Or do you remember like every match you've ever had?
For the most part, I remember them, but I have had that situation happen like 5 or 6 times. I'm like, oh, we did? Oh, I had a guy come train with me, Damien. His name's Damien. It's the same name as my brother. He's awesome. He's a brown belt now. And little did I realize we had a match at the first, my first Austin Open as a purple belt. We fought, and I was so focused on my second opponent, my third opponent. I remember going in there, taking the back, and just kind of like stalling. And I didn't remember his face. I didn't remember his name. That wasn't my notable match of the day. It was actually Igor Feliz in the finals was the match I was most concerned about. And I ended up taking that one to referee decision, losing that match. And I remember my semifinals, my finals, and he came to me. He's like, "You remember when we fought?" I was like, "We fought." And then, we trained. He had training in my academy for 2 or 3 months. It was an awesome guy. But then once he reminded me of the match, I remembered. But I've had it happen a couple times now.
Yeah, that's it's part of just having a lot of matches, I think. So when you lose one of those refs decisions and then you see this guy reffing again in like Atlanta or something like that, are you ever like, hey man, come on, why didn't you help me out? Come on, man.
I've definitely had this conversation, with several referees. And sometimes we would haze each other. Like, hey man, you remember when you robbed me? Oh, I'll remember that when you fight today, or we'll just pick with each other. But no, everybody's pretty cool. Like most of the time, I'm more curious what he did better to me, what I can learn from it, than I am actually mad. So, and it's actually funny. I had this conversation. My first loss at purple belt was to Nathan Haddad. He beat me on a referee's decision, and it was a female referee. And I haven't seen her in 3 years until the Austin Open this year. I brought up that match to her, and she remembered.
Oh,
And and we talked about it for like 10 minutes. And I was, giving her, just giving her some hell, talking like, oh, I wouldn't have lost the purple belt if it wasn't for you. Just, joking. But she was also, so at IBJJF, one thing they do really good is when they hire, most of them try to hire 2 referees to every map. So you're an hour on and you're an hour off. You only work half the day. It's really nice. But she was my partner that day, and I was kind of, picking with her on that match a little bit. But it's actually cool. I got to rematch Nathan just here at Nashville when me and you fought.
nice, nice. Man, you were on fire in Nashville, dude.
It was an up and down weekend, that's for sure. I went 4-3 for the weekend, 4 wins, 3 losses. The roughest loss of the weekend was by far when you choked the death out of me. But it was a good weekend. I went. I had the 4 I won 3 of them by submission, and then of the 2 I lost 1 by points. You were the only one that submitted me, and then I lost my finals match in the gi by disqualification.
Oh, what did you get disqualified for?
So the Calaterra straight ankle, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so you're not allowed to roll inside on that straight ankle. There's actually a video on my TikTok. You can see me doing it blatantly. It's as bad as it could be. It was in like the early part of 2020 because they changed the rules during the pandemic. They were like, okay, let's sit down. Let's talk about some of the big things that came up. And I actually hurt the guy's knee. I grabbed the Calaterra. I rolled to the inside. I hurt his knee. And the situation got brought up because in one-legged X, you can't roll to the inside either because of the tension it puts on its knee. So same goes with the Calaterra ankle lock. Well, my opponent rolled one time, and I followed him, which is okay. When they initiate the roll, you can follow. Well, the second time he turned his body, but he did not roll, and this was a error on my part, right? At least at the time I didn't agree with the call. It's one of those rules I'm not a big fan of. Like we talked about, IBJJF has one view, and I disagree. But with that being said, it was the right call from their view. He stopped turning. He stopped turning his hips. He turned his upper body, but he didn't keep turning his hips. And I rolled one more time, and they disqualified me. So it is what it is.
So how does it work, but also how does it feel when you are both reffing and competing? Because I know, like, as a coach, coaching and competing the same day can be, sometimes it doesn't bother you, but sometimes it is a nightmare.
Yes.
And so what is that like?
Taking it to referee decision, it can be really hard. Like there's definitely days where I've been like, man, I wish I wouldn't have worked today, or days where I say the opposite. I wish I wouldn't have competed today. And some days it's easy though. It kind of you're actually going through all the cities. I've refereed in New Orleans, Houston, Austin, Dallas, Nashville, Chicago, Atlanta, like pretty much about as around the world as you can get. And some areas are really competitive.
Yeah.
Houston Open being one that I don't know if I would ever referee. I might, if they needed me and they called me, I would, probably put my shirt on and do it. But it's one of the most competitive cities in the world. You have 10 Gracie Bajas, you have everybody fiending for that team trophy, trying to, knock Gracie Baja down. And, you have all the politics, and it's a super high level area with high level matches, especially the time of the year it is. It's coming up in 2 weeks from now, and you have everybody's trying to make points for worlds. It's either that or they don't compete, especially the black belts. And that makes for a really long day if it's really competitive. And then some cities are, I'm not going to say easier, but they're easier than others. So I try, ever since I've been a black belt, I either do one or the other. I either referee or I compete. I try not to do both. I only do both if my options are okay. I could referee and compete, or if I don't referee, I financially can't afford to do that tournament at all. So sometimes if you see me refereeing, it probably means I was too poor to go, but I made it happen.
Which is, if there is a jiu-jitsu black belt lifestyle, it's that right there. I was too poor to go, but I made it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I should get that tattooed on me.
So, at this at this point, I thought it'd be fun. You know, you're just saying in a few weeks you have Houston Open. Well, in a few weeks, depending on whenever this comes out, we'll make sure it comes out after the announcement. But you have a big match coming up.
Yeah, so I'm actually gonna have to skip the Houston Open because of this match. But I got the contract in today. I signed it today. I'm competing on who's number one in Oklahoma.
Awesome. That's really cool, man.
Yeah, as long as this comes out after the podcast or after they announce it, you guys will already know the opponent depending on when this comes out. But it's Troy Russell, right? It's a really tough, really good opponent. A lot of people don't know who he is. We're currently 1-2. He's beat me twice. We all of our matches were at brown belt, but we competed a ton together. And it's his home city. He's Rafael Lovato's main coach, right? He's right under Rafael Lovato. He competes in Oklahoma a lot. In Dallas too. He's a really sharp competitor, and like I said, we had history. He's an amazing guy. They called me up, 2 days ago, and they're like, "Hey, you want to do this?" And I was like, "I'm down." They sent me the papers over, and we're gonna make it happen, man. I'm excited.
That's really cool. Would this be your first who's number one?
It will be my first who's
All
number one.
right.
It should be. I believe it's going to be on the undercard, so it'll be on YouTube, Facebook, and free. So it's going to be awesome. And then obviously it'll be on Flow Grappling, of course, as well. It's going to be. I think the main event's Moragali versus Pedro Mourinho. So it's going to be amazing.
Is it no-gi or gi?
It's no-gi. It's no-gi.
So in your is the whole event's not no-gi this time, right? Though Marigali and Mourinho or gi?
And Mourinho and gi, yeah. The rest of the events, no gi, I believe. I don't think there's any other gi fights on it. I think William Tackett's on it. They have Dante Leon. They're not fighting each other, but they have several guys like this on the card. All of these other guys are fighting no gi. I'm fighting no gi even, but that one's going to be an exciting main event in the gi.
So you said you've had 3 matches with him before. Were they gi or no gi?
All of them ended in submission, and the two he's beat me in were no gi, and the one I beat him in a gi.
All right.
And both of us, just tapping each other. I tapped him with a straight ankle. He actually, matter of fact, he's the first brown belt to ever do a heel hook in the IBJJF, and that was against me.
Oh.
I had in 2021 when it first became legal.
Mm-hmm.
We were the first brown belt match of 2021 Dallas Open. I went for my Calaterra ankle lock, and he sat back on a heel hook. I had no idea what I was doing at that time. He tapped me.
Oh, man.
And then we fought in the gi. I straight ankled him in the gi. And then the next day we fought no gi. First round, the open weight. And he ended up outside heel hooking me from my outside heel hook. I was, it was about 6 months later, 7 months later. And I was starting to develop a little bit of a leg lock game, not nearly as much as I do now, but I was playing with a little bit. And I decided to go for his leg and hit me with a really good counter. So,
all right. So when you say you're developing a little bit of a leg lock game, that is newer for you? Like that's brown belt for you?
Yeah, the heel hooks and anything besides the straight ankle was all brown belt now. Right now, I'm enthusiast. Knee bars, calf slices.
Yeah, I know.
The whole nine, right? Everything. I'm like a fiend now. But back then, I had a really good straight ankle, and I played a much more cagey, boring game. I was that guy that would sweep you and stall, make advantage and stall, hold on to an ankle lock, and just kind of pray. I didn't tap many people. And then when I actually, owning my academy and stuff, we switched under to Lucas Lepre. We affiliated with Lucas Lepre, and he really changed my mindset on jiu-jitsu, right? Like if you're not pursuing the kill, then you're kind of just pursuing a game that's 50-50, right? Especially when you're talking matches fought on advantages and 2 points. Sometimes you have to do it, but your jiu-jitsu opens up so much more when you don't just try to hold your opponent and you go for the kill. So my game as I'm a tall, long guy, small guy, so the leg locks kind of came really naturally. Once I started implementing them at brown belt, I studied a lot, and they're my favorite now.
Man, I did not know that. That is, to me, the fact of the podcast there, because when I see a photo of you on the podium, I can always go, oh, Austin fought that guy and that guy because they both have ice on their foot. That's surprising, man.
For the longest time, it was only my only submission was like a short ankle. And then I have like an okay triangle and things like that. But if I submitted people, it was I either straight ankled them, maybe I triangled them, blue and purple especially. But my game was all 50-50, a super cagey, like the pinnacle of boring jiu-jitsu. And now I try to be the exact opposite of that, right? I try to just hunt for the kill the whole time, whether that's passing, sweeping, but most of the time it's leg locks. They
I
just come
like it.
pretty naturally, especially with the new rules. And at brown belt, everything exploded with the toe holds and the lens locks and knee bars. Like throwing that into my game at brown belt, and cause I didn't train any of it until I was a brown belt. I didn't see any point in training any of that stuff. Especially with having students and all my students. When I opened my academy when I was 17 years old in a blue belt. My brother was 18 in a purple belt. So we had white belt training partners. We had no reason to train that or train it with anybody until we got to that level, that brown belt level.
So. That makes sense. So still on the topic of competing, you have this crazy idea where you love to fight huge guys.
Oh, yes.
What's up with that? Just give me some context on that, because you and I compete in the same weight class, and I feel like I'm pretty big for the weight class, and I'm not trying to fight big guys, and you're all about it.
Dude, I love it, man. They don't move like us. They don't move like us. That no one in that weight class, like in Nashville, the match I won in the open class in the gi, the only match I won in the gi that weekend was against the super heavyweight champion, Italo. And it's the guys, they're used to guys standing up before them, fighting for the top position. They don't have guys trying to do barambolos, lapel guard, 50-50, leg locks. I won that match in particular off of a barambolo almost sweep. And then after I swept him, the second barambolo attempt, we landed in 50-50. And my next advantage was from the straight ankle. Granted, he was really big, really hard to tap. I popped his foot a couple of times, but he wasn't having it. So, but they don't fight like that same style. Even the match I got disqualified in, I was leading the match, so I won advantage, and I was baramboloing, doing kaiotera, staying with a really flexible guard,
Dang,
and
man.
especially no-gi, they can't grab you, they can't hold you. My whole intention, they don't move the same. They're not used to guys inverting, going to false reaps and backside heel hooks and things like that. So I love it. It's just such a challenge, like little guys, they'll match your intensity. They'll move just as much as you move. Whereas a big guy's only goal is to squish you. And for me, my only goal is just don't get squished and keep moving.
You're going to convince me to jump into an open class, and I'm going to be sending you a message like, dude, it was a huge mistake. I shouldn't have done this. Why'd you make me do this?
It's always so much fun until you run into Pedro Mourinho. Then it's not fun anymore. I did that at Waco. I was like, yeah, let's go fight the open. Second round was Pedro Mourinho. It wasn't fun.
Do you have a match that you go, that was the least fun match that I've ever had?
This one is my least fun and the most glad it happened at the same time. It was Rafael Lovato Jr. I fought him last year, and it was amazing match. It was an honor to fight him. He was super respectful. I fought with I hurt ankle, was all taped up, and he told his students he was going to go out and do a leg lock today. And he watched my finals match. He was smashing me. Past my guard, I escaped, and he put me in a leg drag. He went to wrap my leg. I brought my hand up, and he saw that my ankle was taped. He let go of the submission to keep climbing past my guard, and it was I would say there's three people that put the craziest pressure I've ever felt in my life: Lucas Lepre, Aidan Dalpra, and Rafael Lovato Jr. They're just unmatched. I've rolled with Andre Galvo, I've rolled with Kenny Cornelius, JT Torres. Those three people, they have a different type of pressure than I could ever just explain to someone. You have to feel it. And he put this pressure on me and just slowly worked his way up to an arm bar. And he didn't even wrench on it. He locked it and he made eye contact with me. And I was like, okay, yeah, you got me. It was such an honor, but I just felt like such a small child, It was there. I was helpless, but it's so cool because when I was 11 years old, the first world championship I ever watched on YouTube, I was looking up, I typed in American Jiu Jitsu, and two people popped up. And first world's finals I watched was Rafael Lovato Jr., which was amazing. And then the second one for some reason was Calotera. And those were my, I always wanted to be like Rafael Lovato, American world champion. And then obviously I love Calotera's game. So I've adopted so much from that.
Man, that's really cool. So man, there's something about the old school guys when you first get your black belt, like the generation or two before you get them in your division and you're like, okay, I'm going to see where I'm at. And they just hit you with this welcome to black belt adult that is.
Yes.
Murillo Santana did it to me. It was life changing. I was brand new black belt. I think it was my second match ever as a black belt, and I drew him, and he had me in a triangle for like 6 minutes. I got out of it, and I was mad at myself for getting out of it because then he just proceeded to beat me down after that, and it was brutal. He actually literally made the guy in the match before cry. He had him smashed from mount, and this is like a good adult competitor, and he made him cry. And I'm watching this, getting ready for my second match ever as a black belt, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be rough. And it was rough.
Oh, it's also it's such a cool thing to kind of watch the guys you grew up watching. It's such a big honor, but also such like I can't wait till I'm that one day. Till
of course,
35 years old, 10 years from now, 34, 35 years old, looking, fighting these young guns and just showing them what experience can do.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. I think if I, physically am able to keep doing that, I'm definitely down to do it, man, even honestly, even between me and you, last weekend, everything else completely out the window, but like getting to fight AJ in the final, it's a guy I've watched compete forever. And it was just one of those, like, this is kind of crazy. This is
it's really cool to show yourself you're on that level though. You can fight the highest level guys and prove to yourself that you can beat them, That's for me, watching you do that was amazing, right? Because I know what that moment feels like, a competitor that's in the spotlight, that's won big things and has been all over social media. When you beat that one big competitor, it's life-changing. It's awesome, right? It's a really good, reassuring fight. It's like, okay, I am making progress. I am doing good.
Dude, and it's like, it's bizarre when you're an adult competitor. And I know that you have to experience this too, or maybe you've seen your brother experience this, but when you were an adult competitor, because you're challenging yourself so much, there are, of course, these huge times of discouragement and things like that. But for me, there are these times where I have to sit and ask myself, am I just crazy? Am I not cut out to be, can I do this? Can I compete with these guys? And it was really nice to get that win and just like stand up and go, okay, I'm not crazy, or at least I'm not that crazy, like,
trust me, I've had this conversation with myself 1,000 times. And I think every good competitor does eventually have this conversation with themselves, and then, it's, whatever you want to say, like life throws you a bone sometimes and you get that big win, right? And to see it happen for your friends is even better, right? Like, I know there's really big wins out there. My buddy Clay Mayfield submitted Hyson Rita, and that was, Clay's one of my best friends. And that's one of the matches I remember going, man, he needed that, right? When you, as a competitor, you push yourself so hard, you train every day. Sometimes you lose, I've been on 5 and 6 losing streaks at tournaments before where I've lost 5 and 6 matches in a row, killed 6 tournaments and haven't won a match in 6 tournaments. But having a big win like that, just, it makes you feel better, right? Like, I think one of my biggest ones was Mateus Luna, right? Or, I don't know if it's Matias or Mateus, it's the bigger one.
Yeah.
I was in Nashville last year. I inside heel hooked him. And that was one for me where, man, the guy's on everything. He competes at everything. He's medaled at major tournaments. And to go out there and be able to get that win was like, I needed that.
Yeah, dude. And it's just like, as much as you can be self-motivated, you still need that positive feedback sometimes. And, like, especially, I know that I can say these things to you just because I know you deal with the same things, being a coach and being a competitor and being it's difficult to be an American competitor at black belt adult. It really is. And so, just kind of getting those and like knowing, man, my students are seeing me take these losses. This sucks, and and a lot of times it's you playing it in your own head. Your students are probably teaching something good to because they're going, hey, my coach can take these losses and keep going. But in the moment, it doesn't feel like that as a coach.
It feels bad, man. It's really hard. And like you said there, it's really hard to be an American competitor at the adult black belt level. And I think one of the biggest reasons to that is there's, obviously being a Brazilian competitor comes with its own challenges. You're not worried about visa issues, obviously have more money struggles and things like that. But for us, I don't know how big your academy is, but like total between both me and my brother both own one academy. We have two total. We have 300 students, right? And so we're trying to keep up with 300 students when they're competing, coaching them, help them developmentally train in, pursue their skills to a higher level. And then you have family life on top of it. You have to worry about your financials and make the right decisions there. And then on top of it, you're chasing the highest level of black belts where some of these black belts, their only job is to eat, live, and train. They'll teach the occasional seminar to make some cash. And they all they do is they train with 10 other world champions and, one of the best rooms in the world. And they're worried about survival and training with the best and being the best. Whereas for me and you, we're worried about getting new students in, signing new students up, keeping the class schedule running good, teaching most of the classes. It's a different kind of struggle. It's a good struggle because long term we're gonna have so much. When we're 35, we're gonna have hopefully super successful academies with long term careers and long term standings in our communities. But as a competitor, it makes it really hard. You're kind of you're sacrificing a little bit of your training to hopefully have a great competition career and a great business career too.
Man, that is, I couldn't have said it better myself. That is the battle. Do you have any kind of off the top of your head tips for somebody trying to be a competitor and a coach?
Besides, don't open an academy. Yeah.
besides just be a competitor,
Yeah.
that really is great advice because people don't realize the amount of jujitsu time that you lose when you're a coach.
It's a luxury to be just a competitor. But no, absolutely, I have advice for them. Believe in the mission and believe in what you're doing. Right? You're gonna have people say no and that don't believe in you and that don't believe you can do both. But I firmly believe you can do both. Right? Like I haven't medaled at a major event yet at black belt, but my brother's, he took third at the No U Worlds, and we have done well at bigger tournaments and we have done well in the open divisions and things like that. It's like I know it's possible. I know we can do it. It's just you can't lose the focus. You can't just because you eat a couple losses and you get beat up and you hear people talk bad about you or something like this. You can't give up, right? It's not about how much you can win. It's about how long you can stay in the game until you win.
That is so true, dude. And that is like, I mean, for me, I think what are you, 25?
24.
24. Okay. So I'm 5 years older than you. And at 29, yeah, I know I'm freaking old, right?
I didn't know you were 29, man. I thought you were my age.
God. No, but it's the Asian thing, dude. We just look young, but that like, for me kind of, obviously I don't think I'm at the end of my adult career, but I know I'm much closer now than I was when I was 24. And I go, okay, I've been here for a while. I win, I lose, whatever. But what I really notice is like, I had so many opportunities to just quit and I would have been happy doing it. You know what I mean? Like I would have made more money if I just quit and just said, okay, well, I'm going to just go to teaching. I'm just going to go to coaching. I'm just going to go to podcasting. And I've had that opportunity many times and, it made sense many times, but there's also just something about chasing something that could just be out of reach that is just a blast.
And the thing is that I would rather chase something that's out of reach. If I never become a world champion, I know that for me, I got my black belt, a week after I turned 23 years old. And so for me, I know I have about 12 to 13 good years of competing at adult in me, right? I'd rather chase that and know I had a blast and I tried my hardest for 12 or 13 years than to look back and be like, I gave up after 5 years, and I had however many left, 7 years left in front of me, and I just gave up. I would rather, because chasing it's fun. The As much as winning is fun, losing in itself is kind of like, it's frustrating, but it's so much fun because you're fixated on fixing it. I can't tell you how many single legs I've done since me and you have fought just to try to fix my mistakes. Like
Dude,
it's this obsession with, I know I can be better. I know I can do it.
that's really good. Man, that's really good. So we're getting kind of the end of the episode. I always like to finish with the same question, and it is this: what is either the best or some of the best jiu-jitsu advice that you have ever gotten?
Showing up in training doesn't just, it makes you better a little bit, but showing up and just training isn't how you get better, right? You can show up and train and everybody tells you just show up, you'll get better. Just show up, you get better. And that's not the case, I found, right? If you show up in the beginning, you will get better no matter what. But really, it's about how much you can show up with the intention to get better, right? Some days you just need to walk in the room and you need to clear your mind. You've had a bad day, come in and just train those days. But I found if you can show up with an intention, show up with the mindset of, I'm going to grow in this position, or this guy taps me out 12 times every class. And he's, ever since I walked in the door, he's just that much better than me. I'm going to ask him 5 questions to close this gap. And that if I have to ask him 5 questions for the next 5 years, eventually I'll close the gap. Showing up with that intention to train hard, not just train hard every day, but to learn every day. Right? If you show up in the building, you have no idea what you're doing there, and you just kind of had a meh day, you need to do something in your head, switch something in your gear. If I've had a meh day, the moment I walk in the gym, I ask myself, okay, what's the 5 things we're going to do today? And sometimes it's doing the things we don't want to do. Sometimes the first thing that pops in my head is, I don't really want to do half guard today, and that's what I need to work on. And then I end up doing half guard, and sometimes it goes well, and you do great half guard, and sometimes you get smashed, and you're like, okay, how can I learn from this?
Man, all right. That's really good advice. That's really that's really good advice. Austin, I just want to first thank you for being on the show. It's always fun. Like we both agreed that it can be hard to be an adult black belt American. And so it's always fun to meet another one of the good guys and, get to have a good conversation. So I appreciate you being on. Is there anything that you want to say to finish? Any sponsors to thank, anything like that?
Yeah, I want to thank my team, my whole team at Oranday Bros Jiu Jitsu. Man, my family here is awesome. The culture here is awesome. A big shout out to my sponsor, Moy Brand. You guys are the best. Thank you for keeping me looking sharp. Thank you, Ms. Janine, for the strength and conditioning and the meal programs and all that kind of stuff. And then thank you to N7 and Cryo for always keeping me healthy and good.
Man, thank you for being on the show, Austin. That was a really great episode. Can't wait to release it. Can't wait to share it with people.
Yes, sir.
And your match, just confirming, is May 18th, correct? That's a Thursday?
Yes,
all
sir.
right.
It's a Thursday on Flow Grappling. And then after that, it'd be Baton Rouge and Worlds.
All right, man. Well, I may, or hopefully I don't see you at Baton Rouge, because hopefully I'm qualified for Worlds after Atlanta. But I'll see you at one of the two, I'm sure.
Yes, sir.
And that is the episode. I just want to thank you guys for checking this one out. I want to thank Austin again just for being on the show. Austin just really, like I said, just a unique competitor. It's really a cool experience getting to compete against him. I'm sure that we will do it again. But before that, Austin has a big match in the next 2 days. It's been on Thursday night. He will be competing on Flow Grappling. Obviously, we talked about it, told you guys about it on the episode, but just wanted to make sure it was clear what the date was. So if you guys, heard this episode or made it all the way to this point, I assume at this point, you've got to be a fan of Austin, and be sure to support him. Be sure to root for him, do the old take a picture and tag him on Instagram, your Instagram story while he's competing, all that good stuff. You guys know what you like to do. But that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode, and I hope that today's episode helps you guys suck just a little bit less at jiu-jitsu. Have a great day, guys.